You know, it took everyone here, and it's a great accomplishment. For a whisper of gold, what makes a man sacrifice everything he owns? For Parker Schnabel, money isn't everything. The goal is to overcome the insurmountable. His most recent fixation is the fabled Widow's Cut, a mine shaft infamous for its instability and the riches it has sucked. We're just going to have to accept the risk. Everyone claims it's a death trap just waiting to happen and a fool's errand. However, Parker thinks he has a clue. Old maps and lost tales hold a mystery that will lead him to a reward that no one could ever imagine, and we'll show you exactly what he discovered. The wager of $15 million. You see, a typical season is insufficient for a man like Parker Schnabel. He never stops trying to get that next huge score, and he targeted a region that was the subject of nightmares and stories this time. They termed it the Widow's Cut. The Klondike was home to a notoriously unstable mine shaft that had a horrible history of gulping dreams and machines whole. The Yukon's old-timers would tell you tales about it, rumors of lives nearly lost and wealth lost. The concept of a cursed mine has a lot of fans, and this location was at the top of the list. However, Parker noticed a change. He saw a legend that was just waiting to be discovered. Everything else becomes a trivial detail when the ground is good. I'll mine for the benefit of the ground. Equipped with advanced technology and an unrivaled willpower, he was prepared to disprove everyone and win the lottery. He had staked everything on it. $15 million wager that he will not only smash his own record this season, but also break it into a million smaller pieces. The thing that no one tells you is that there is a danger associated with such a large wager. It was a fiasco from the start. The crew's morale was at an all-time low. The ground was frozen solid and machines broke down. It seemed as though the Earth was attempting to drive them away in retaliation. They were spending money at a startling rate, $100,000 a day, but all they have to show for it is a growing debt load and a great deal of frustration. There was a great deal of pressure. Parker's eyes showed the weight of everything bearing down on him. To himself, his family, and his crew he had vowed, and now, like fine silt in a cell box, it was all slipping through his fingers. He may give up, concede, and leave with his tail between his legs. Alternatively, he can venture farther into the harsh terrain and run the danger of losing everything. There was just one option for Parker. However, a ray of hope was about to emerge in the most surprising manner, an indication from the planet Earth. The crew was on the verge of a full-scale revolt, and just when it looked like everything was lost, something amazing occurred. It was one of those times when you start to think that miracles happen. Everything changed with a single, thrilling discovery. It wasn't a huge gold mine, not initially. It was something far more unique and uncommon. A nugget shaped like a tree, dendritic gold in its finest form. The structure is crystalline and like something from a fairy tale. It feels amazing to have a good crew, be on some ground at last, and be discovering some gold. This has taken a lot of work, and it's great to see everything come together. You know, little flakes or lumps without any shape are typically seen in the natural state of gold. However, this was a masterpiece that was created deep within the soil. A treasure like this is worth more than its weight in gold, but no one tells you that. It's an indication that you're in the proper place and that something significant is about to happen. It was like a heart-pounding adrenaline rush for Parker and his team. Immediately, the atmosphere in the camp changed. A fresh sense of hope and a ferocious thrill that they were about to make a life-changing discovery took the place of the despair. It served as a concrete reminder of the reason they were enduring torment and a piece of the goal they had been pursuing. Any cleanup that cost millions of dollars was not as precious as this one nugget, which was perhaps worth a few $1,000s. The fire in their stomachs was rekindled by the spark. They were persuaded that it was impossible to pretend that they were close. They had finally tasted the wealth of the cursed ground, an insightful look at the wealth concealed beneath their feet. They were now more intent than ever on claiming it. If necessary, they were prepared to demolish that mountain in order to locate the mother lode. However, they could never have predicted the size and danger of what they were about to discover. The heartbreak of $200,000. The workers returned to work with a vengeance, their resolve strengthened and their spirits raised. They were no longer merely following the routine. They had a purpose. Then it took place, a finding so enormous and astounding that it immediately became the subject of gold rush mythology. They looked in the typical spots, but it wasn't in the pay soil. It was concealed within a huge boulder, a monstrous rock that any other crew would have thrown away. However, they felt compelled to investigate further, and they were amazed by what they discovered within. Within the stone is a golden heart and a chunk of 100 pure gold. It was one magnificent chunk of unadulterated wild wealth. The sum is an impressive $200,000. Miners dream of discoveries like this one, the sort of discovery that can guarantee a legacy and make a season. It was an amazing party. The valley reverberated with whoops and hollers. They had succeeded. They had overcome the widow's cut curse and come out on top. You know, it's a great accomplishment, and everyone was brought here. I simply wanted to say how much I appreciate all of your hard work. However, not everything is as it seems. Disaster occurred in the middle of their victory. Their biggest sadness was caused by the same thing that had made them happy. The enormous piece of gold that had seemed so permanent and substantial only moments before turned out to be brittle. It shattered into tiny fragments. Its magnificent shape was irrevocably broken. Although the monetary loss was substantial, the emotional toll was the most severe. In an instant, their greatest triumph had turned into their most expensive error. It served as a harsh reminder of the Klondike's harsh character, the most agonizing way to learn a lesson, and they were unaware that a greater secret was just waiting to be discovered as they gathered up the pieces of their dashed dream. $65 million in secret. The loss of the 100 nugget had the team in shock. A bitter taste of disappointment had taken the place of the excitement of the discovery. Parker wasn't prepared to give up, though. He had a gut instinct that the widow's cut was more complicated than it first appeared. Unreasonable demands from a manager who, likes to have unreasonable expectations are present in our current circumstance, along with terminal work. It was then that he discovered it, a strange old map that was going to alter his life forever. It pointed to a location they had missed, a forgotten shaft that had been shut for decades, and it was concealed in an ancient, forgotten part of the claim, a relic from a bygone era of gold mining. The concept of a lost treasure map is extremely popular, and this was the real thing for Parker. He plunged headfirst into the perilous, forgotten shaft, disregarding the curse's whispers and his crew's cautions. Everyone believes they are familiar with the narrative of how he discovered gold. Truth is that he discovered a prize worth $65 million, a gold-filled tunnel beneath the ground, a secret room that had lain undiscovered for 100 years. It was an inexplicable discovery, a treasure they could never have imagined. A finding of this size has its own set of issues, which is something no one tells you. How did they get it out? Was the question worth $65 million? The Earth was dangerous. The shaft was unstable, and there was always a chance of a cave-in. Time was of the essence, a high-stakes match between the mountain itself and a chess player. Every earth tremor and every scoop of the digger served as a warning that their lives were in jeopardy. However, the allure of the riches was too much to ignore. They were about to receive the largest payout in the history of the gold rush. They also had no intention of letting anything get in their way. But is this enormous find, this $65 million prize, real? A good story's power. We have been on a crazy journey, a roller coaster of pain and victory, hope and despair. We have discussed ancient maps, cursed mines, and a $65 million windfall. The tale is nearly too good to be true. And perhaps, just possibly, that is the case. As you can see, reality TV is a humorous industry. It's a world where drama is produced, stories are made, and a compelling story is worth more than a gold mine. It feels amazing to have a good crew, be on some ground at last, and be discovering some gold. This has taken a lot of labor, and it's great to see it succeed. The question is whether we, the audience, are seeing the entire narrative or just the meticulously crafted highlights, the scenes that are meant to keep us on the edge of our seats. Could it be that the widow's cut curse is merely a handy way to justify the difficulties that miners face on a daily basis? Is the old map merely a brilliant narrative device? And is the $65 million prize more of a season total than a single game-changing finding? While many people dream of becoming successful instantly, the reality is sometimes a long, arduous process. Let's go even further down the rabbit hole, though. The hypothesis that is whispered in the back of the internet and that no one discusses is whether or not these well-timed discoveries are indeed real. Consider it. A dendritic gold are indeed real. Consider it. A dendritic gold nugget that is 1 in a million only shows up when everyone is feeling down. A huge 100-ounce piece of gold is discovered in a random boulder just as the season is about to end. Like a Hollywood movie's plot twist, it's almost too good to be true. Could a producer have quietly salted the mine, seeing the necessity for a dramatic turning point? Although this is a contentious idea, it might be argued that spending a few $1,000s on prop gold could salvage a plot point in a multi-million-dollar production. What about the conflict amongst the crew members? The altercations, the breakdowns, and the ongoing mutiny threat? It's interesting material, but how much of it is staged for the camera and how much is real? If anyone wants to go home, they can do so right now. I'm not sure if males are rushing home or something. A straightforward argument about a repair can be manipulated to appear as a feud that ends a friendship. One way to describe the inherent stress of the work is as a complete mental breakdown. Are we witnessing a well-written drama in which the miners are actors portraying themselves, or are we viewing a documentary? Let's investigate yet another outrageous option. Parker, a young maverick who stakes his entire fortune on a whim, is portrayed in the program as the ultimate gambler. However, what if it's not him who is taking all the chances? What if there is an enigmatic, wealthy investor operating covertly as a silent partner? Someone who contributes the enormous $15 million stake that enables these bold bets. The whole story of the lone wolf risking everything would be a well-planned delusion if that were the case. Finding gold isn't the main goal, rather. It's to provide a secret player we never see a return on their investment. Perhaps a technology rather than money is the secret. Parker's famed gold-finding skills are frequently credited to intuition and ground reading. What if he possesses a weapon that isn't known? What if he has an unfair edge due to the use of satellite imaging technologies or experimental ground-penetrating radar? A piece of technology so sophisticated or exclusive that the show purposefully avoids showing it on camera in order to preserve the secret and preserve the appearance of traditional gut instinct mining. In the process of searching for gold, he would find a technological flaw rather than gold itself. The web is knotted. Are we overlooking something important? Of course. We probably have hundreds of them missing. As they say, the truth is frequently more bizarre than fiction. It's also far more complicated in the gold rush situation. A single enormous nugget might not be Parker Schnabel's greatest find. However, the understanding of how to extract a new kind of gold from the audience's attention. The Klondike Permafrost does not contain the actual mother lode day. It's the narrative itself, and our opinions are what are paying for it. What do you think then? Is Parker Schnabel the luckiest kid in the Klondike or a superb storyteller? Tell us in the comments section below. Additionally, remember to like and subscribe for more in-depth content.